All right, let's jump right in. Today we're tackling cybersecurity, ripping headlines straight from the digital world. We're
Hmm.
talking undersea cables, the latest hacks, even what's got the Pentagon on edge.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
Our mission, to cut through the noise and find those nuggets of wisdom to keep you ahead of the game.
Absolutely, because what's really striking is how all these stories, they all kind of converge on one thing. The sheer speed and sophistication of cyber threats these days.
And ransomware, well, that's a prime example.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the average time to ransom now, just 17 hours.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Some groups are pulling off these attacks in like 4 to 6 hours. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's gone from, meticulously planned bank heists to just these lightning fast smash and grabs.
It is a very apt analogy, that shift to smash and grab. It's all about grabbing that data and extorting the victims quickly.
Hmm.
It's really shucking up the cybersecurity world. Imagine you're running a business and boom, your whole network's locked down. You've got mere hours to make a choice. Pay the ransom or face potential disaster.
Talk about a pressure cooker. How can businesses even react in that kind of time frame?
It takes a multi-pronged approach. Proactive security, you got to be watching those threats constantly,
Right.
and you need those incident response plans ready to go.
Mm.
But speed, that's the name of the game. The longer it takes to catch it and contain it, the worse the damage can be.
Yeah, it's like those bank heist movies. Every second counts.
Yeah.
But let's switch gears a bit. Talk about something a little less in-your-face attacks and more about this slow creep of privacy loss.
Hmm.
Google's ditching cookies, right?
Mhm.
But hold your applause, they're replacing them with something even sneakier. Fingerprinting.
True, cookies track what you browse, but fingerprinting, that digs deeper.
Right.
It analyzes your device, your browser, how you even scroll and type. It's all about creating this unique fingerprint.
Oh, wow.
It can track you all over the web, even if you clear those cookies.
So, like, even if I try to cover my tracks,
Yeah.
this digital fingerprint can still give me away.
You got it.
So what can we do? How do we protect our privacy in this whole new world of tracking?
Well, there are tools out there. The Electronic Frontier Foundation, they've got Privacy Badger,
Okay.
blocks most trackers, and even mixes up your browser fingerprint.
Interesting.
They've also got Cover Your Tracks, lets you actually see how well your browser's protecting you.
That's handy. And browser settings, those built-in privacy ones, those can help too, right?
Absolutely.
Tweaking those can make a difference, but it's still unnerving, isn't it? Constantly tracked, analyzed, like the walls are closing in.
It does raise some big questions, about personalization versus privacy in this digital age.
It does.
And while we're on the topic of unsettling things, let's go literally below the surface. Undersea cables.
Cool.
Did you know Meta, Facebook's parent company, they're building the world's longest undersea cable. We're talking 20,000 feet deep.
Deeper than the Mariana Trench. Undersea cables, though, why should I care about those?
Well, think of them as the internet's arteries, carrying like 99% of all international data. They connect continents, power global communication.
Right.
But as we rely on them more and more, they also become, well, potential targets.
Oh, I see.
Sabotage, espionage, especially with the US, Russia, China, all those tensions rising.
So not only are our digital lives kind of hanging by a thread, but the actual physical stuff making it work is at risk too.
It does highlight the need for a broad approach to cybersecurity. It's not just our data, it's the whole ecosystem supporting our digital lives that needs protection.
Right. And speaking of ecosystems, let's zoom in on a few cases that show just how wide-ranging these cyber threats are.
Okay.
We've got everything from newspapers to the Pentagon in the news today, starting with Lee Enterprises, big newspaper publisher. They're reeling from a cyber incident, completely paralyzed for over a week.
Yeah, it's a harsh reminder that cyber attacks, these aren't just theoretical threats. They have real-world impact, can disrupt crucial services, cause serious financial damage.
And then there's the Department of Defense rolling out CMMC, the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. Huge shift for government contractors.
It is a big one. No more just saying you're doing the right things. You got to prove it.
No more faking it till you make it.
Right.
Keeping your systems safe is super important as businesses rely more and more on digital systems, and that's where turnkey cybersecurity can really help.
Yeah, we're here to help small businesses just like yours make sure they're safe and sound in this crazy world of cybersecurity. And we offer a whole suite of services specifically tailored for you. So that's ensuring CMMC compliance and doing penetration testing. We also run vulnerability scans, and we can help you develop a comprehensive risk assessment.
And it doesn't stop there, right?
No, it doesn't.
We handle incident response, should the unfortunate happen, and we guide you through migrations like GCC. We just want to make sure your transitions are smooth and that you're secure.
It's all about peace of mind, right? You focus on what you do best, running your business, and we'll make sure that your digital world is safe and sound. CMMC's got this tiered system. Each level demands more and more cybersecurity know-how.
So it's not just about protecting top secret stuff anymore. It's about making sure that whole supply chain is solid.
Exactly.
But it's not just defense folks who need to worry. Even the Coast Guard, not exactly who you'd picture in high-tech warfare.
Hmm.
They're woefully unprepared for cyber attacks,
Hmm.
which is a bit scary when you think about things like our ports and energy grids.
Yeah, a cyber attack on that kind of infrastructure could have a domino effect, disrupting everything, even putting lives at risk.
Right.
This really shows we need a big picture national approach to cybersecurity, one that sees how connected our digital and physical worlds really are.
I need a little levity before we dive back into cyberdoom.
Hmm.
Remember Elon Musk's chatbot, Grok?
Oh, yeah.
Well, some researcher had it analyze Musk's own tweets for truthfulness.
Oh, how'd that go?
Let's just say, not so flattering.
That's fun.
It's funny, but it does show how AI could be used for fact-checking, fighting misinformation.
Imagine that, AI assistants sifting through all the info overload, calling out fake news.
Could be a game changer.
It could.
But on a little humorous note, the U.S. is having a tough time keeping up with China's growing tech industry. Those sanctions against Huawei, not as effective as they hoped.
This really shows how tech, economics, and geopolitics, they're all tangled up.
Yeah.
It's a race for tech dominance, and cybersecurity is a major battleground.
And then there's the UK, trying to force Apple to create a backdoor into their devices. Huge privacy concerns there.
It's true. Every move on this global cyber chessboard has huge consequences, and we need to understand them.
A lot to take in, right?
Picking up where we left off, those ransomware attacks, that smash and grab tactic, it's really changing the game.
Yeah, terrifying stuff. Businesses, organizations, crippled in hours.
Absolutely. Scrambling to respond, that choice, pay the ransom or risk losing it all, it's tough.
And it's not just big corporations, right?
No, not at all. Small businesses, even individuals, they're all targets now.
So it's about everyone protecting their own data, not just companies.
It is. It's like the Wild West out there, digitally speaking.
But let's dig a bit deeper into that DoD program, CMOC. We touched on it earlier. Seems like a big deal for anyone working with them.
Oh, it's a game changer for sure. CMMC, the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, it's how the DoD's handling cybersecurity for contractors now.
No more just talking the talk.
Right, you got to walk the walk, show you've got the safeguards in place to protect that sensitive info.
Sounds like they're serious about it.
They are. That memo from the Office of the Secretary of Defense, it's crystal clear.
Okay.
Contractors, they're obligated to protect that controlled, unclassified information, even if their specific contract doesn't explicitly require CMMC.
So it's across the board, no loopholes.
Exactly. No gray areas. Everyone's got to meet the standards.
Got it. And that memo, it also talks more about CMMC level 3, right?
It does, and that's important because that level, it'll apply to a big chunk of the defense industrial base.
Makes sense. But what about companies that just aren't ready for CMMC? Any wiggle room there?
There is a waiver process.
Okay.
But it's not a free pass. It only waives the certification, not the actual security requirements themselves.
So you still got to meet the standards, even without the official badge.
Exactly, like being allowed to take the final exam without going to any classes.
Ah, good analogy. And the DoD's making it clear, these waivers, they're not easy to get.
No, they're only for specific situations where that certification would actually hurt competition or delay really important stuff.
They're not hand them out like candy.
Nope, not at all.
Sounds like a balancing act, high security, but also realizing not every company can be perfect overnight.
That's a good way to put it. And for more guidance, the DoD also put out this new CUI markings guide for contractors.
CUI, that's controlled unclassified information, right?
That's the one. And this guide's important because for the first time, it says contractors can actually create and mark CUI documents themselves.
So they're taking ownership, not just following orders from above.
Exactly. And the guide's detailed clear instructions on marking all kinds of documents.
Okay.
Text files, emails, spreadsheets, all according to the DoD's very specific rules. No more guesswork.
So consistency is key. Everyone on the same page.
That's the goal. But even with all this, there's still that worry about the bigger picture, geopolitics, especially China's growing power in tech.
Yeah, the U.S. trying to contain them with sanctions and all that, but not super effective.
It's tough. China's incredibly resilient, determined to advance.
Huawei's a good example. They're still hitting their targets despite those sanctions.
They are, shows a different approach might be needed.
Perhaps it's a tricky situation, but speaking of tricky, that whole UK thing with Apple and the backdoor access, that's still going on.
Oh yeah, the encryption debate? No easy answers there.
National security versus privacy. Classic dilemma.
It is. UK government says they need it for investigations to stop terrorism.
Right.
But privacy folks, they're warning it'll set a bad example. Weaken encryption for everyone.
A slippery slope. No one wants criminals using encryption to hide, but we don't want to sacrifice our own privacy either.
Exactly. Tough call. And this has global implications.
Oh yeah, what happens in the UK could affect everyone.
It could. It's a reminder that cybersecurity is not just a local issue anymore. It's global, with global consequences.
Speaking of global, those undersea cables, we kind of take them for granted, but they're the backbone of everything.
They are the arteries of the digital world carrying all that data.
And Meta's building that massive one, over 20,000 feet deep. Mind-blowing.
It shows how crucial these cables are, but also how vulnerable.
Right. If one of those gets cut, imagine the chaos.
It'd be like severing the internet's lifeline, outages everywhere, economic damage, the whole 9 yards.
That's like a digital arms race, everyone vying for control of these cables.
It is, but it's not just control, it's security. Keeping those lines open and safe is vital for everyone.
So true, but let's come back to land for a bit. Critical infrastructure, that's a growing concern too.
Absolutely. We think about cyber attacks hitting data or finances, but they can target the physical stuff too.
The things that keep our world running, power grids, transportation, water systems.
Exactly. And that report from the Government Accountability Office had highlighted that even the Coast Guard, they're not ready for these attacks.
Which is scary. They protect our ports, shipping, all that.
And those are prime targets. A successful attack there could cripple everything.
So cybersecurity is not just about data. It's about keeping our world running.
Exactly. And as we depend more and more on technology, we become more vulnerable.
We've talked about it. Technology is only part of the problem. It's us, humans. We're the weak link.
So true. No matter how good the tech gets, human error, it's always there.
Phishing scams, weak passwords, clicking on bad links, it all adds up.
It does. So what can we do? Education, awareness, that's key.
Right. Give people the knowledge to spot those threats.
Teach them how to create strong passwords, how to practice good cyber hygiene, make it a habit.
Make it part of our culture, online.
Exactly. But let's take a little detour, talk about AI. Remember that story with Elon Musk's chatbot Grok?
Oh yeah, where it analyzed his own tweets and basically called them out.
It did. Funny. But it also shows how AI could be used for fact-checking, for fighting all that misinformation.
Imagine AI assistants sorting through all the noise online,
Yeah.
pointing out what's fake.
That'd be something, wouldn't it? Of course, lots of challenges there.
Like what?
Well, making sure these AI systems are fair, not biased, that they're transparent.
Right, we don't want to trade human bias for algorithmic bias.
Exactly. And what about misuse? Someone could create an AI to spread misinformation on purpose.
Oh, that's a good point. Like any tool, AI can be used for good or bad.
It can. And that brings us to another thing we need to talk about, the financial impact of cyber attacks.
Yeah, we talked about ransomware, the smash and grab stuff, but the costs go way beyond the ransom itself.
They do. It's business disruption, lost productivity, damage to your reputation, legal fees, the whole shebang.
It's a financial nightmare.
It can be, and we've seen it happen. Lee Enterprises, they're still reeling from that attack.
Yeah, they said it'll have a material impact on their financials. Probably an understatement.
Probably, and it's not just big companies. Smaller ones often get hit harder. They don't have the resources to fight back.
So what can businesses do besides the obvious, better security, incident response plans?
Well, many are turning to cyber insurance.
Cyber insurance, the digital safety net, but isn't that getting expensive?
It is, sadly. As attacks get worse, insurance companies are raising prices, being more picky about who they cover.
So it's not a magic solution? You can't just buy a policy and relax?
No, it's a one piece of the puzzle. Businesses need to be proactive, see cybersecurity as crucial, not just an IT thing.
Building a culture of awareness, investing in the right tech, training employees.
Exactly. It's a team effort. Everyone from the CEO to the new guy needs to be involved.
But let's go back to the international scene. That Russian hacker who got arrested, Mikhail Matveev, what's the deal there?
Interesting case, right? Russia usually looks the other way when it comes to their hackers.
As long as they don't target Russia itself?
Right, so this arrest, it's got people talking, could be a change in policy?
Maybe Putin sending a message trying to show he's willing to work with the U.S. on cyber stuff.
Could be, or maybe he's just trying to control some of his more troublesome
The
hackers.
ones who are getting too much attention.
Maybe it's worth keeping an eye on, could change how cybercrime works globally.
And speaking of global changes, that UK case with Apple and the back door, that's still a hot topic.
Oh yeah, encryption debate's not going away, security versus privacy, no easy answers.
And now the U.S. Congress is getting involved, telling the Director of National Intelligence to push back against the UK.
Fascinating how this is unfolding, could impact encryption and privacy everywhere.
Shows how connected we all are. What one country does can affect the whole world.
It can, but let's bring it back down to earth. All this high-level stuff, at the end of the day, cybersecurity is about protecting people.
Right, making sure our data is safe, our businesses can run smoothly, that those critical systems stay up.
Exactly. Creating a safer digital world for everyone, that's the goal.
So as we wrap up, what are the key things our listeners should remember? How do we navigate this crazy digital world?
Well, I'd say awareness is paramount. Stay informed, learn about the threats, ask questions, don't be shy.
Knowledge is power, right? The more you know, the better decisions you can make.
Exactly. It's like having a cybersecurity radar, always scanning for trouble.
Love that analogy.
And remember, it's not just about tech, it's how you act online. Good habits, strong passwords, watch out for those phishing scams, keep your software updated.
Simple things that can make a big difference.
They can. It's about being smart online, taking responsibility for your own security.
But also knowing we're all in this together, right?
We are. Cybersecurity is a team effort.
Yeah.
Individuals, companies, governments, we all need to work together.
Well said. Well, we've covered a lot in this deep dive, from the nitty-gritty to the global picture.
We have. It's been quite a journey.
But stay tuned. We've got one more segment coming up, final thoughts and some advice on how to thrive in this digital age. All right, we're back for the final stretch of our cybersecurity deep dive. Let's circle back to a few things, connect the dots. We talked about those huge financial hits from cyber attacks, Lee Enterprises, that newspaper group, still struggling weeks later.
Yeah, it really drives home the point. Cyber attacks, they're not just theoretical, they have real consequences, big financial ones too.
And cyber insurance, it's becoming more and more important for businesses, right?
It is. As those risks grow, it's a way to manage them.
But it's not a silver bullet, is it? It's getting pricey, harder to get, and it doesn't replace good security practices.
Right, think of it as a safety net. You still need a solid foundation underneath.
Great analogy. Cyber insurance, it's one layer, not the whole solution.
Exactly. Companies still need to invest in security, train their people, have those plans in place if something happens.
Speaking of things happening, you mentioned that interesting development with Russia, that hacker they arrested, Mikhail Medvedev, indicted in the U.S.
Yeah, caught a lot of folks off guard. Russia doesn't usually do that, go after their own hackers.
Right, as long as they don't mess with Russia itself.
Exactly. So this arrest, it could be a sign things are changing.
Maybe Putin's trying to send a message, show he's
Yeah.
willing to cooperate with the U.S. on cyber stuff.
Could be. Or maybe he's just trying to rein in some of those hackers who are getting too much
The
attention.
ones making too much noise.
Right. Either way, it's something to watch. Could change the whole cybercrime game globally.
And speaking of global impact, that UK situation, them trying to force Apple to give them a back door, that's still raging.
Oh, yeah. The encryption debate, it's not going away anytime soon.
Security versus privacy, tough one.
It is. UK says they need it to fight crime, stop terrorism.
Right.
But the privacy folks, they're saying it'll weaken encryption for everyone, make us all more vulnerable.
It's a balancing act for sure. And now the U.S. Congress is jumping in, telling the Director of National Intelligence to oppose the UK.
It is interesting to see how this all plays out. Could change encryption and privacy around the world.
Shows how connected we all are. What one country does can affect everyone.
It can, but let's bring it back home, all this big picture stuff. At the end of the day, cybersecurity is about protecting people, right?
Well, absolutely. Our data, our businesses, those critical systems that keep everything running.
It's about creating a safer digital world, full stop.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the key things our listeners should take away? How do we thrive in this digital world?
Well, I'd say awareness is number one. Stay informed, learn about those threats, ask questions, don't be afraid to reach out.
Knowledge is power. The more you know, the better choices you can make.
Exactly. Think of it like a radar, always scanning for potential problems.
Love that. A cybersecurity radar.
And remember, it's not just the tech, it's you. It's your behavior online, good habits, strong passwords, watching out for those scams, keeping your software updated.
Simple things, but they make a big difference.
They do. It's about being smart online, taking charge of your own security.
But also knowing we're all in this together.
Absolutely. Cybersecurity is a team effort. We all need to work together to make the digital world safer.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have, from the small stuff to the global picture.
That's been quite a journey.
It has. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Hope you found it helpful.
And to our listeners, stay curious, stay vigilant, stay safe out there in the digital world.